Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about Chapter 10, the first half of Chapter 10, going over the annual strategic plan update. So just looking like we always do for our concentration and lesson objectives, and then our agenda for today. You can see we're going to talk about why we even, why do we go after an update, some key timings that kind of indicate to us that it's time to update our plan, and then sum it up with some key points as we always do. So what I want to do, I want to show this little video, and I promise I'll make it all relate back together. But think about, if you have a GPS in your car, has your GPS ever failed you? And we'll make this all relate back. So, just a silly little video, but what I want you to think about, like I said, have you ever had a GPS and it's failed you? That moment of panic when you're driving and that voice comes over the GPS, like in the video, and it says turn left in 50 feet, and the road may be closed for repairs, and you're thinking, oh no, this GPS has lied to me. I'm not going to get to where I need to go. I'm going to be late to that big meeting. So strategic planning is not really that different from a GPS if you really think about it. So our roadmap, which is what our strategic plan is, it's the roadmap for our organization. That roadmap that may have worked, just brilliantly a year ago is not going to be reflective in today's environment. So, even, let's just say even given that the best plans that we can come up with are going to age, so how are we going to really know when it's time to reevaluate our own organization's individual situations, and how we know when it's time to refresh our, quote-unquote directions? So, kind of just what I covered. It's strategic plan is just not really different. It's still our roadmap. It's still the direction that we want to take our organization, but we have to realize we still need to remain flexible in that our plans are going to change with the changing time. So it's important that we go back through and kind of do this refresh of our strategic plan annually, and at least be looking at it. So what all made the update or the annual update for our strategic plan involved? And this is generally, less intensive than what we see on the strategic planning level when we start to create a strategic plan. We're just going through to make sure if we're on track and if we're not, or if we've had a lot of significant changes in the environment since the last time we either reviewed the plan or the plan was created, then it's time for us to go through and do a good thorough review of our strategic plan. If we have significant changes, something significant in the marketplace has happened, so let's think back to when the Affordable Care Act was enacted. That is something very significant. Our review or our update process is going to look more like a full-blown strategic planning process in comparison to just the annual review. If we're still on track and we have minor changes that we need to make. So a lot of companies or a lot of organizations just go through a strategic plan update differently. There's not one right way per se, but there are a couple key things that you want to make sure you include in your strategic plan refresh or update. If you're at that seniority level where you're in a management, leadership, supervisory level, it's important to understand that, like we talked about in the last couple lessons, that strategic management is not just a once-a-year activity. Create the strategic plan, put it on a shelf, and not look at it again. It really needs to be integrated into your organization, into even the day-to-day processes where we're looking at strategic management. We're looking at the implementation of the things, the action plans we came up with in our strategic plan. We're working to meet those objectives we set. And it's just become part of the organization. Now, your job as a leader in healthcare is to really make sure that not only is the plan still relevant, and that's why we do the annual update, but communication is your big piece. Remember, you're like the cheerleader as the leader of the strategic plan. You're the cheerleader of the strategic plan, so you have to kind of bring the rest of your employees around, make them see the importance in strategic planning, and get their buy-in that the strategic plan is going to work. So a couple added bonuses that strategic planning updates provides you as a leader. So it's a really great opportunity for you to go out and start listening to your own stakeholders. So listening to your employees, listening to your patients, listening to other leaders in your organization, and kind of see what their takes are. It's a good opportunity to maybe revisit your SWOT analysis. As we know things change, and so things we determine in our SWOT analysis still may not be relevant when you do this refresh. So you're also able to go out and work to form these new relationships, but continue to build that level of excitement and the level of excitement around the direction you're taking your organization. This is an exciting time. These are exciting things happening for your organization, and you need to try and make that point across to your employees. So there's a couple key points in time that we're going to want to do an update of our plan. We're going to go over each one of these individually. We'll talk about goal changes, leadership changes, environmental changes, organizational issues that we may come in contact with, some mandated changes maybe coming down from more government agencies, and then just overall ineffective strategies. So the first one, we've accomplished our goals, which is great. We set our strategic plan out with a specific time frame in mind. So we had all these initiatives that we wanted to accomplish, and we went through and accomplished each one of those objectives that we've set out. We've met our benchmarks. This is very strong momentum that we can build off of. Everyone should be excited on our team. This is kind of marking the next phase of what we're going to do as an organization. So this is a very exciting time. We need to make sure to convey that across to our employees and to others in leadership positions in the organization. And the next one that we said we would talk about, key leadership changes. So, nothing is constant. We're going to have continual changes within organization, especially when we have new employees in leadership roles that come on with the organization. We're going to have to make sure that the priorities of the strategic plan reflect the priorities of the new leadership, and if we need to make adjustments, make those. And it gives these new leaders, just like we talked about the opportunity that it gives you as a leader, it gives these new leaders to the organization a chance to make their own mark. They may have really great ideas on how to make this organization more successful, how we can be a better healthcare facility for our patients. That may have great, really innovative ideas that they want to bring into the organization. So it really gives them an opportunity to leave their imprint on the organization itself. Now, a couple other times that we may see updates as a result of leadership changes, we need to understand the expectations of any new leadership coming on board. So they may want to quote unquote clean house, where we want to make breaks with the past, the way that we were doing things, old outdated strategies that may not work for us anymore. We just want to make a clean break from those, or they may decide that we want to stay the course. So we've got a great plan in place. We're achieving the objectives that we needed to. We're meeting our benchmarks. So we're going to continue on with those strategic priorities that we've set out. And the next point under key leadership, talking about leaders' priorities and different mandates. This kind of flows back into expectations of new leadership, but making sure that those new priorities and those new mandates are reflected in writing, and that they are being updated in our strategic plan overall. So we have some environmental changes where Strategic initiatives may be on track, meaning that the strategic plan seems to be working just fine. We don't need to do anything, leave everything as is. But then we might see, leaders might start to realize that things just aren't like they used to. We're constantly in this form of change. So think about, as little as 5 years ago, most social media, most organizations' strategic plans didn't include words like Facebook or Twitter or anything with social media, Instagram, Snapchat. But now you can find those in strategic plan because the environment that we work in is so rapidly changing, and the way we reach our customers and our patient base and our clients is changing as well. It's not through your general come to my website, send me mail, send me email. It's let me show you what we're doing on Facebook. Let me show you what we're doing on Twitter. Follow me on Snapchat. So the external environment's going to necessitate some changes that we need to make and incorporate into our new strategic plan. So I've laid out a couple different of these environmental changes, things like new laws, available resources we know can kind of fluctuate in terms of volunteers and funding particularly. Media, think back to our social media examples and technology. So there's a couple different changes that may occur in the environment. Now this is not an all-inclusive list, of course, just a couple things to get you thinking about some typical environmental changes that we may see. So another time we want to look to update is through organizational overextension, just meaning that we have stretched ourselves too thin. I'm sure most of you can relate with your various obligations that you've committed to through school or work or just life in general, that sometimes you've just stretched yourself too thin. It's more than what you can handle. You've just overextended yourself. So in terms of an organization, we just have too many competing projects that all need our attention and resources equally, and we just cannot offer that because we are so overextended. And because we have all these competing projects, we're not really making any progression. We're not moving forward. We're not seeing any movement towards the achievement of our objectives and our mission statement. So what the organization needs to do at this point in time is, sit down, list out those competing projects or list out those things that we're not really making any progression on, and see which of those aligns with our organizational mission statement and our vision statement. Because, everything we do, like we've talked about, everything we do as an organization needs to feed back to our mission and vision. Mission achieving the vision statement. So every activity that we do, we need to make sure that we can tie back into our mission statement overall. So the refresh at this point with organizational overextension really gives leaders the chance to take this more broad view of what is going on within the organization, and really gives us the chance, like I said, to ensure we're doing the right things. We may be so overwhelmed by everything that's going on, we may be doing projects that are not really aligned with the things that we need to be doing. Another point in time when we want to consider updating our plan, when we have some more mandated changes. Now this could come down from our board of directors, so we may have bylaws within our organization that require us by law to update our plan every 3 to 5 years, or even update our plan on an annual basis. And generally, time after time, the most effective way to refresh our plan and make sure that we are refreshing our plan is being required to do it. Mandated changes can also come down if you're thinking in terms of outside entities, and this may go back more to environmental changes. But if we have regulation changes from the government, let's say on the way, the metrics that we have to monitor as a healthcare organization, that may affect our plan overall. So we may need to go back and update, make a couple changes there. And then simply, we have an outdated strategy. Things that worked a year ago are not working like we thought, New critical issues may have arisen since we originally did our plan. And so we just may be at a point where we put all this work into our strategic plan, but we just have to kind of scrap it and start over, unfortunately. So key points here, just the importance overall of reviewing the strategic plan annually and different types of situations where you're going to find that the situation necessitates you to go through and do this update. Now guys, this is part 1 of chapter 10. We've got another lesson, lesson 14, annual strategic plan update part 2 that'll be posted. So make sure to watch both videos. And if you have any questions, you're always welcome to call, email, or stop by anytime. Thank you.